Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Navallabha Girivaradhari Jashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Munatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Damodar ki jai, Krishna Balaram ki jai, Gaur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada's Purports ki jai, Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivraja Acharya Stotra Sata His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai. Thank you very much for all of you for coming to this wonderful discussion of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. I don't see the text number, but it's supposed to be 6.6. Chapter 6, entitled Dhyana Yoga. And we are reading today verse 6. It's a very famous verse. So let's recite together. Bandhur ātmātmanas tasya yenātmaivātmanā jitaḥ anātmanas śatrutve vartetātmaiva śatru-vat bandhur ātmātmanas tasya yenātmaivātmanā jitaḥ anātmanas śatrutve vartetātmaiva śatru-vat bandhur ātmātmanas tasya yenātmaivātmanā jitaḥ anātmanas śatrutve vartetātmaiva śatru-vat. Anybody would like to read? ātmātmanas tasya yenātmaivātmanā jitaḥ ātmanas śatrutve vartetātmaiva śatru-vat. Yenātmaivātmanā nastu śatrutve vartetātmaiva śatru-vat. Ladies, please. Bandhur ātmātmanas tasya yenātmaivātmanā jitaḥ anātmanas śatrutve vartetātmaiva śatru-vat. Okay, so now word for word translation. Please repeat with me together. Bandhuḥ, friend. Ātmā, the mind. Ātmanaḥ, of the living entity. Tasya, of him. Yena, by whom. Ātmā, the mind. Eva, certainly. Ātmanaḥ, by the living entity. Jitaḥ, conquered. Anātmanaḥ, of one who has failed to control the mind. But śatrutve, because of enmity. Varteta, remains. Ātmā, the very mind. Śatru-vat, as an enemy. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Okay. So the purpose of practicing eightfold yoga is to control the mind in order to make it a friend in discharging the human mission. Unless the mind is controlled, I didn't read the translation. Okay, sorry. I didn't read the translation? Okay, sorry. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. Okay, so we'll go back to purport again. The purpose of practicing eightfold yoga is to control the mind in order to make it a friend in discharging the human mission. Unless the mind is controlled, the practice of yoga for a show is simply a waste of time. One who cannot control his mind lives always with the greatest enemy, and thus his life and its mission are spoiled. The constitutional position of the living entity is to carry out the order of the superior. As long as one's mind remains an unconquered enemy, one has to serve the dictations of lust, anger, avarice, illusion, etc. But when the mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the dictation of the Personality of Godhead, who is situated within the heart of everyone as Paramātmā. Real yoga practice entails meeting the Paramātmā within the heart and following his dictation. For one who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord follows automatically. So we'll read the translation again. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. So this is a very famous verse. We often quote it for ourselves and for preaching purposes also. And now we are discussing it again. And now we're discussing it also here. And we'll try to analyze. Of course, better than discussion like this is actually applying it in our lives. But a discussion can help us to and empower us to actually do it practically. Because one thing is to accept and agree and understand, but then another thing is a capacity, a qualification, an adhikar, to apply it in our lives. Like when we hear the verse about humility, trinadapi sunichena, tarorapi sahishnana, one should be more humble than a grass. Oh, it's so nice. Who doesn't want to be like this? We all want to be. But can we always manage to be like this? Oh, to be more tolerant than a tree. Can you imagine the tolerance of the tree? It is said, if a tree is tolerant in two ways. In one way, when a tree is cut down, he did not complain. Oh, stop cutting me. What are you doing? I was standing here all this time, and now you came and you cut? We don't hear a tree talking this way. And another way, when he's cut already, he's not asking, oh, I'm drying up, please, can anyone bring me some water, please? This is other type of tolerance which we can see in a tree. And besides all this, cutting down, breaking branches, someone pass urine, still tree gives fruits and shelter. So it's not that he said, okay, no problem, you cut me down, you can do what you want, you cut. I'm just staying here. No,
he still continues giving to everyone. So this is a tree, but Mahaprabhu requests us to be more than a tree. And it sounds very nice, and we love to discuss and hear about it, but then how many can actually apply it fully 100% in every situation in our life? So one thing is to accept it and agree with it, and another thing is actually to be able to live by it. So these kind of discussions help us and empower us to gain that adhikar, that qualification, to live by it. Because first of all, discussions like this on Bhagavad Gita and other shastras, they purify the heart. Because of the anarthas, because of this is why some of us may not be able to follow. And another way, it's that they inspire, that we hear and hear again and we remember and they inspire us. And these are few reasons how this hearing about these topics, even though we may not be able to apply it immediately, it is still should be carried on and on and on. It is like giving deeper and deeper and deeper impression in our consciousness. So here is also said about the mind. So what is mind? Sometimes we speak, oh, it's mind dictating this, it's mind dictating that, we have to control the mind, and mind, everything is mind's fault. Yeah? Because mind has three functions: thinking, feeling, and willing. So anything in this material world related to thinking, feeling, willing is mind. All the thoughts appear in a mind. So it appears like something that it's not so favorable. But then, if it's all related to Krishna, like we see Brajabasis, their thinking, their feeling, and their willing, which actually culminates into acting, it is about Krishna. So this is very, very favorable. So the mind should not be just cut off and discarded. It has to be controlled and put in the right position. It has to be fixed. Yes? So that's a mind. That's what this verse says, that one who has conquered the mind is the best friend. The mind mind is the one, the consciousness that we can say. Vrindavan is a state of consciousness. So this mind is bringing us to Vrindavan. The mind will be the one that will allow us to remember the pastimes of Krishna. The mind will be the one which allows us to remember Krishna at the time of death. So what kind of best friend is the mind? Yeah? We say that, I remember when I was very new, just have joined the temple. It was in England, in UK, and I was distributing books. So then temple authorities put me together with another girl, because there were only two girls in the whole temple who wanted to distribute books, me and another girl. But we did not get along. I didn't like her, she didn't like me, and we were always arguing and fighting. But we had to go together because temple didn't allow us to go alone. So then I one day approached one senior devotee and I said, you know, I am with this girl, but she is just like this and like this and like this, and sometimes she is not even able to pull her trolley with books and I have to do it, and she's just walking with her sunscreen umbrella and complaining about everything. So I was bringing all these bad points about her. So this I just cannot tolerate, and I have to go with her. I think that I could distribute much more books without her. So what am I supposed to do? I was approaching her, not to only complain, little bit complain, but also I wanted to solve the problem. What am I supposed to think and how I'm supposed to transform my consciousness? So she said, you go one day on books, let's say there is one day in the future, and there is something happen. For example, car accident, and you are dying. So this girl will be the one who will chant the Hare Krishna mantra in your ear. So your life and death depends on that girl. So you should see her only in that way. So she put it everything in a way that this girl became she is now my best friend, because my whole life and death depends on her. So the same thing, the ultimate best friend is our mind. Because if we die, even if millions of people chant Hare Krishna, if our mind is so contaminated and cannot remember Krishna even in the middle of kirtan, so what then? Yeah? So the mind can be our best friend of whom depends our life and death. Because the mind will be the one which brings us the memory of Krishna in our consciousness and heart. So that's why it's said that mind can be our best friend in that way. And if mind is not in that way trained, is the worst enemy. To live is the worst enemy, 24 hours. So it means that you are receiving a constant harm. Like it's mentioned here, lust, anger, avarice, illusion. One who has not conquered the mind serves lust, anger, avarice, illusion. So which direction our life can go if we are supposed to serve lust, anger, illusion, avarice, and so many more, greed. So our life is miserable. And worst thing, not just miserable, if it's miserable, it's only I am suffering, yes? But the worst thing what uncontrolled mind offers is that with uncontrolled mind, one cannot discharge the human mission. So what human mission means some kind of attainment, some kind of achievement, yes? So our highest achievement of all achievements which we can list is to attain love of God. No one can argue against that. Every morning when we recite 10 offenses, we can, at the end we say, and everybody who claims to be a Vaishnava and want to attain the prema, which is goal of life. Yeah. So that every morning we state, what is goal of life? What is a mission? So this is love of God. So with a mind, enemy mind, one cannot accomplish a mission of human, which means to attain love of God. So this is what mind, who is our enemy, uncontrolled mind, is offering to us. And it appears from here that it's our choice to live with an enemy or with a friend. Yes? So we actually born in this world alongside with that enemy. So if we have intelligence, we have to learn how to turn the situation around according to this Bhagavad Gita. So just recently, I was studying Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, which talks about 3 modes of material nature. And it also says not just the modes, but also how one can get liberated from these 3 modes. And from that chapter 14 description, we can actually see how actually that so-called inimical mind is inimical just because he is working alongside with those 3 modes. The 3 modes are the ones who are dictating the mind, and mind is following. And one who is in Krishna consciousness, who is liberated from the 3 modes, that person's mind is free. So I wanted to read this purport of actually all these purports are wonderful, but it's chapter 14, text 26 or 25. Let me open. Just wanted to go through and see if we can get inspired. What actually frees us? What actually conquers and controls the mind? Because at the same time, also in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna and Krishna is conversing, and Krishna is saying that to control the mind to Arjuna, Arjuna says it's impossible. It is like more difficult than to control the wind. So now again we have to control, otherwise it's enemy. So how to solve this contradiction? So in chapter 14, there is a solution. How to get free from that enemy who is only following the modes of nature. And that binds us, and in that way we are incapable of acting and achieving that mission. Okay, so I'll read text 20, chapter 14, text 20, the purport. So here is said, the verse says, when the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes associated with material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. Yeah? So here is some hope that we are able actually to transcend, means we are able to control the mind and make him best friend. So Prabhupada explains how one can stay in transcendental position even in this body, in full Krishna consciousness, is explained in this verse. The Sanskrit word dehi means embodied. Although one is within this material body, by his advancement in spiritual knowledge, he can be free from the influence of the modes of nature. He can enjoy the happiness of the spiritual life, even in this body, because after leaving this body, he'll certainly go into the spiritual sky. But even in this body, he can enjoy spiritual happiness. In other words, devotional service in Krishna consciousness is a sign of liberation from material entanglement. Yes. So here is the reply. So how do we control mind? How do we get free from the material modes? It is by devotional service, by discharging devotional service. And it says that someone who is constantly engaged in devotional service, he is in liberated state. But initially, for a new practitioner to be engaged in devotional service is just an external activity. Yes, we engage in any kind of 9 processes of devotional service. So we should see that our life, 24 hours in all 7 days, there is nothing else but 9 processes of devotional service. Either one of them, or 2 of them, or 3 of them, or all 9 of them. But then still, mind can go everywhere. Even if we do it, we may even do these activities for gaining some prestige or adoration. Yes, but by executing those processes, our heart gets purified, and the more intensely we do it, the more purification is intense. And we will read, if we continue reading the other chapters, other purports, we see, and as soon as we lay back, we open the door for Maya to enter again. So like this, so it is our choice how much intense we want to move, how intensely we want to move forward. So, and then gradually, also the mind enters into these activities. So we start with the gross body to do the devotional service, and then the mind also follows, and we not only doing it externally, but also internally. We dream how we can serve Krishna, how we can serve our spiritual master in his mission. So if our mind is fully, intensely absorbed in this thoughts, in this devotional service, then the mind is the greatest friend, the biggest friend. And that's what also said in Srimad Bhagavatam, that tivrena bhakti yogena. Yeah? So one should perform not any kind of bhakti yoga, but intense devotional service, intense bhakti yoga. We should always try to intensify, always thinking how to perform better, how to absorb our mind more intensely. And what this tīvra and bhakti yogena is compared with, in Bhagavatam it said, this tīvra, the Sanskrit word tīvra, it is intense, intensity. So this kind of intense devotional service is compared to intense heat from sun. It's like an intense hot sun rays. And sun rays are so potent and so powerful that they can purify the filthy place of urine without getting contaminated themselves. So that filthy place of urine is compared to our filthy hearts, the dirt that has been accumulated from lifetimes and lifetimes before. And the intense devotional service is compared to these sun rays that purify that filthy place. So that's why the devotional service is considered so powerful, and it's said that there is no requirement for any kind of material pre-qualification for someone to take it up. So anyone and everyone can just take up, and then the purification process will work automatically. But this automatically is not just some kind of mechanical way, like you go to this ATM, you press the button, money comes, press the button, money comes, you go. It is actually, we have to also put how much sincerely and intensely we put ourselves in that fire of devotional service. So much, how big flame we are making. So I wanted to read to you a poem, because as I said, I was studying a little bit of this chapter 14 last few days, and I wrote some poems of these beautiful verses. So I wanted to read the one which actually talks about this particular topic, becoming freed, about this particular verse of chapter 14. So let me just find, I think it's this one. Yes. So the poem is entitled Beyond and Above. Everyone will die without a doubt. Even me and you and also others here around. What will be after that? Oh, do you know? It's not so difficult to guess. Watch, I can show. If you live in the mode of goodness, sir, you will reach pure planets. Would you prefer? Passion will take you to fruitive deeds, but ignorance drags you to animal breeds. Goodness purifies. Passion gives pain. In ignorance, foolishness is all that you gain. The first gives you heaven, second one earth, the last in the hell will make you take birth. In this world there are three binding ropes. They catch you, pull tight, give no hope. All are bound, even the smallest of ants, in the goodness, passion, or ignorance. But you must know that God is above all this. If you look, you'll know things you won't miss. Correct perception will give you a chance to understand Lord, and with Him have a dance. If you see these three modes everywhere, you can get out and be free, I swear. You are saved from birth, death, old age, disease. You taste nectar right here with great ease. So Prabhupada says that devotional service is the process that can liberate us and free us from this material consciousness. So how do you get free from material consciousness? To become Krishna conscious. So that's what devotional service gives, a Krishna consciousness. And even Krishna consciousness can be in different levels. And again, it depends on intensity of our love. Yes? And the topmost intense state is actually prema, which is even that is going more and more and more and more intense to the point that even this material body cannot handle such intense emotions towards Krishna. So we need to see, what about our emotions towards Krishna? Where are our emotions going? So, and another thing Prabhupada mentions is, one thing is devotional service, but we also have to observe this world to see how the modes are acting. Because Prabhupada says, actually this body is not necessary. We don't need this body. The soul, who is me and you, this body, there is no necessity for this body. And this body acts only because of the modes here. Whatever we see, it's a modes. So if we see it in that way, we can stay aloof. We don't have to enter, like you see, one monkey is doing and all the 20 monkeys So what is this? It's a mode of nature, the passion and ignorance. These things they are doing, they will now fight. But only one monkey needs to start and all others are involved. Because the mode of passion just took them over. Yes? So the same we also may walk around and think, oh, now I will be like this. Oh no, today I will not be like this. All these are just modes. So one has to observe and stay aloof and only be interested in one's Krishna consciousness and perform one's service without being affected by these modes. So these two advices Srila Prabhupada is giving. We have a little more time, and I wanted to talk a little bit more specifically about the pure devotional service. And here I've taken this book, which is a book that I recently have published, and I have compiled here different sections of Prabhupada's quotes, how one can progress from the very, very beginning of practice of Krishna consciousness by entering devotional service, developing faith and accepting Guru, until the very, very perfection where one is actually attaining and realizing one's spiritual body, Siddha, Swarupa. So these are the collections of Srila Prabhupada's quotes of different topics concerning that advancement of bhakti and attaining pure devotional sentiments and love for the Lord. So this is a chapter, Pure Devotional Service. And there are also some of the quotes which I sought to share with you today. The chapter is not long, it's just a few pages, and we'll go through and we'll see if we can get inspired to actually intensify our loving service to the Lord, and how it can be more and more spontaneous, and the eagerness can just grow, and our perception go deeper, and finally we may meet Krishna also. So, Prabhupada writes in Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 10, Text 8, he says, Anya bilashita sunyam. Anya bilashita means material desire, and shunyam means free from. So no material desire. This is part of devotional service. Otherwise, how is the devotional service to Krishna if there is material desire? The spiritual soul has spiritual activities and spiritual desires, as described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatāt bhaktirahaitu tvai. Unalloyed devotion to the service of the Lord is the only spiritual desire. Any other desire which is not an unalloyed desire for unalloyed devotional service, it's not a spiritual desire. So we can only see in our heart what desires are there. So Prabhupada says the unalloyed devotion to the service of the Lord is the only spiritual desire. To fulfill this desire, however, one must be free from all material desires. It's an interesting condition, yes? If we have a desire, the only spiritual desire we have is unalloyed devotional service. So how do we fulfill this desire? By getting free from all other desires, which are naturally material. Desirelessness means freedom from material desires. This is described by Srila Rupa Goswami as anya-bilasita shunyam. Yes? Because jiva is spiritual by nature. So only spiritual desires are fitting to jiva. So there is only one. How to serve Krishna without any motivation and without interruption. It's very important to understand it's without interruption, because sometimes we may say, okay, today I will go to temple and I will do something, have no motivation. I will bring flowers, I will bring fruits, I will clean, I have no motivation. And then we go home and we do other things. That's why there is should be no interruption. Constantly, 24/7. This is anya-bilashita shunyam. Prabhupada writes in the same purport, as soon as one has material desires, one loses his spiritual identity. That's how we lose and disconnect ourselves with Krishna, because of these other desires besides the one, devotional service. Then all the paraphernalia of one's life, including one's senses, body, religion, patience and intelligence, are deviated from one's original Krishna consciousness. So as soon as one has material desires, one's senses, body, religion, patience and intelligence are deviated from one's original Krishna consciousness. As soon as one has material desires, one cannot properly use his senses, intelligence, mind and so on for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It sounds so sad that just because of our material desires, we cannot give pleasure and full satisfaction to Krishna. Then in Bhagavatam again, Prabhupada writes, unless one is free from all material desire, anya-bilashita shunyam, one cannot be attracted to Krishna. So it is very strong statements, and to me it's painful to read. If I have a material desire, I cannot satisfy Krishna. And here it said, why? Because I have no attraction. So what Krishna really needs? Krishna needs is priti, this attraction to him, that affection. That's all he needs. But here Prabhupada says that it cannot be, it cannot happen if one has material desires. Devotees sacrifice all personal interests to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And similarly, the Supreme Lord, although having no personal interest, can do anything for the interests of his devotees. One who is full in himself has no personal interests. Yeah? It is like such a beautiful scene. If you are full in in yourself, you don't have any personal interest. Sometimes we may think I have to actually fulfill my needs and everything, I need to fulfill all my personal interests. But actually one who is full in himself doesn't have any personal interest. His interest is only for Krishna. In pure devotional service, the only motive should be to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is not actually a motive. That is a pure condition of the living entity. This is a very powerful statement, that to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is not a motive. It is actually a pure condition of a living entity. It's like our only nature is to please the Lord. Pure devotees are not desirous of any material enjoyment, nor are they averse to it. They completely dovetail their desires with the desires of the Lord and perform nothing on their personal account. The Lord is revealed not by one's speculative power or by one's verbal jugglery over the absolute truth. Rather, he reveals himself to a devotee when he is fully satisfied by the devotee's service attitude. So here again we see that service is activity, but not just activity. It is also an attitude. Okay? So this is what Krishna wants to see, our service attitude. So, and that attitude can always be more and more improved because it is something very subtle, and it can be improved in more and more subtle levels. That humility, that trinadapi sunichana, that tarorapi sahishnana, it can be like it's more than a tree, more than a grass. So how much is more? More can be unlimited. So we can always improve our service attitude unlimitedly. So much so that at one point we'll be desperate, that how much more I can improve, please Krishna. And we'll just fall down at Krishna's feet, at Guru's feet, with tears in our eyes, said how more I can improve. In the very beginning, the new devotees, the neophyte devotees, maybe they are not new, they may still be neophyte after many years, and they think, yes, I am all fine, I know, I have done all these things and I now established, or I was remembering that I had just joined ISKCON and I was in a training program, Bhakta program, and we were having some philosophical, practical application, philosophical, so in some of the classes we were discussing about 3 types of devotees, Kanishta, Madhyama and Uttama. So when I was hearing all these qualities and descriptions of each type of devotee, I said, yes, Kanishta, not me. Maybe everyone thinks maybe I could be a Madhyama, but I think that just from Uttamadhikari I have one little difference, that I don't know all the Shastra. But this is just a question of time. I can quickly learn the Shastra. So this is the only thing I think what makes me to disqualify be an Uttama. Otherwise, if I knew all the Shastra, I definitely would be in that particular position. So this is how mind is going, yes? So, but devotee should be always eager to improve his service attitude. So service means subordinate, that we always need to see ourselves subordinate. In this material world, Prabhupada writes, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, in this material world, nothing should be accepted for one's sense gratification. Everything should be accepted for the service of the Lord. This is the mentality of spiritual world. So these quotes we are all reading, why? To understand how to make our mind our best friend. Yes? So it's in the mentality of spiritual world. Yes, it's said here, the mentality of spiritual world is that nothing is accepted for me, everything is accepted for Krishna. This is a mentality of spiritual world. So if mind works, constantly works in this way, naturally, mind becomes the best friend. It said again, in Canto 1, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord Himself guides the pure devotees towards the path of realization due to their constant engagement in the loving service of the Lord in spontaneous affection. And that is a secret of entering into kingdom of God. Yes? So what is the secret in entering kingdom of God? It is that one constantly is engaged in loving service of the Lord in spontaneous affection. There is no need to any reason. There should be no requirement of any kind of external impetus. It comes from heart. There is Krishna, there is service, and I want to do it. And not just anyhow do it. I want to do it always better, ever increasingly better. Pure devotees asked the Lord only for the privilege of serving Him. This is our real independence. If we want anything else, it is a sign of our misfortune. This is our Srila Prabhupada. He has given us these wonderful tips of the highest benediction for the whole human society. I'm repeating, in pure devotees ask the Lord only for the privilege of serving Him. It is our real independence. If we want anything else, it is a sign of our misfortune. The Lord can be known only by sincere mood of eagerness for service, and not by any amount of material qualification. So we should be always eager to serve, because what we said, it's not a motive, it is a condition of the soul to always want to serve. So if we act in that way that we always want to serve Krishna, always just means always, then we are acting on the level of the soul. So naturally, then our mind is conquered and is not our enemy. Only the pure devotees can know the transcendental name, form, and activities of the Lord, due to their being completely freed from the reactions of fruitive work and mental speculation. The pure devotees have nothing to derive as personal profit from their unalloyed service to the Lord. They render incessant service to the Lord spontaneously, without any reservation. Pure devotee never desires to gain material opportunities by rendering transcendental service to the Lord. A pure devotee desires only to engage in loving service to the Lord, in constant association of the Lord and His eternal associates. So this devotional service is actually association of the Lord. By devotional service, we gain association of the Lord. And if our mind is completely absorbed with utmost intensity, that's how we always feel Krishna's presence and the presence of Guru. Bhakti means spontaneously responding to Krishna. That is bhakti. Therefore, it is transcendental platform. Yes? It is not on this material platform. Karma kanda, jnana kanda. Pure bhakti is above. Mam cha vyabhicharini bhakti yogena jasevate sagunam samatitya itan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Transcendental platform. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that this karma, kandiya vichar, that is also nice. But it is just for those who are too much in bodily concept of life. But actual nectar, actual key, the actual secret is to engage in pure devotional service. So this is Krishna consciousness movement. It is so nice. We are trying to engage everyone in pure devotional service. You see, Prabhupada said that he is trying to engage everyone in pure devotional service. Pure devotional service means to serve Krishna without any motive. That is pure, without any motive. Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karmadyanavritam anukulyena Krishna. Spontaneous means we shall rise to the platform. Now he explains how to see spontaneous. Here is a service for Krishna. Let me do it. Immediately, let me do it. So this is spontaneous. Where is service? So this is the nature of soul. its condition of soul is to serve Krishna. So if we are acting in a level of, on the platform of the soul, means we continuously are eager to serve and search the service for Krishna. So if we see, oh, this is here now, service for Krishna, immediately let me do it. So Prabhupada says that this is a spontaneous love of God, and this is how Krishna gets attracted to us and gives us his company, and we can perceive it through devotional service. And in that way, our mind will search more and more opportunities to engage in service, and our thinking, feeling, and willing will be only absorbed in that pure, loving service of the Lord. And our mind will help us to find a way how to serve. Our mind will help us to remember Krishna, and our mind will be fully absorbed in the service of Krishna. And in that way, our mind can be very rightly called our best friend. So if anybody wants to get this book, it's available in our international bookstore. Krishna Will Kiss You also, it's called. And this is a collection of Srila Prabhupada's quotes, how to develop this spontaneous love of God. It's only 200 rupees, so you can go to these shops and you can get. And if you are too busy or lazy to go, I also have some copies here. But the main thing is to make our mind our best friend. And if it's not possible for us at this stage, we should seek help in the devotional association, in the sadhu sangha, in the scriptures, and read and hear, and not to forget the holy name. Because it is said that Param Vijayate is Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. So the holy name, especially in form of kirtan, especially in form of Sankirtan, is Param Vijayate, is supremely powerful and always victorious. So if our mind is our greatest enemy, so what do you do with enemy? You fight with enemy. So if you take on your side the Sankirtan, the kirtan, the congregational chanting of holy name, then by that chanting, you'll be always victorious of your mind, and you will conquer the mind and turn the mind upside down and make him your best friend. Thank you very much for your patience. I hope that I could say some beneficial words and something inspiring for everybody's progress in bhakti, going deeper, loving Krishna more intensely, because that's what we need, the intensity. Yeah, it is said that our bhakti has to become so intense that nothing can penetrate. So density should be so high that nothing can go through, nothing can penetrate. So I tried my best to say a few words. Please forgive me if any mistakes or shortcomings. If any has any corrections or comments, maybe it's time now for that.